And part of me wants to punch the next person who says new normal, because I'm not sure I really want to address what that really means. But as people talk about life going back to normal, it is going to be different than what we've expected before. And now that we've had this challenging moment, we get to decide who we're going to be and how we're going to show up. And so today I'm going to share with you some high performance practices. I'm going to share my screen. Oh, she disabled stream sharing, which is totally fine. I can do it without it. I'm going to share with you a couple of key principles that I think will change. And what I call them is I call it a high five. We can only remember a certain number of things. And so with our short time together, I want you to remember 5 things that will help you. Oh, good. She gave me the opportunity to share the screen and I can show you. Because of course, if there's graphics, you should see them. And it completely change our experience. It won't really, but it'll just give you something else to look at and you don't have to just look at my face. So as Becky mentioned, while my background and professional experience is in advertising and marketing, I own a boutique digital advertising agency, and I also run a speaking business. My life's work is around high performance. So we spend time working with companies and individuals on how to be more productive, how to be happier, how to spend their time in time management, effective goal setting techniques. And I even wrote a book called The Make It Happen Blueprint that is 17 high performance practices in your life. And so what I've done is I've taken some of these principles in this book, and we don't have time to talk about all 17 today, but I'm going to share with you 5 principles that I think are really important to put our minds into the right place as we talk about how to move forward and how to make different changes. Now, I know that some of you, as I looked in the chat box, some of you own your own business and you're running your own business. Some of you work for someone else. And so there's some challenges that come with that as well as you pivot working from home or in staggered workplace environments. And even just the psychology of dealing with your own thoughts and feelings, in addition to the thoughts and feelings of all of your coworkers, and as you all get together and how you deal with all of those things. As I share with you some of these principles, I want you to keep this in mind. This principle that I call regret feels worse than failure. And I think that right now I've heard so many, especially women, hesitant to move forward in their businesses and their professional careers because they're worried about what's going to happen in the future. And none of us have a crystal ball. We don't know if we're in this for the long haul or if this just clears up in a jiff. We don't know if this is just the beginning in a series of what will happen next as a result of what has happened. And yet at the same time, my hope for you as we listen to this and as we talk together today is that you'll think through the ways that you might potentially be holding yourself back from something because you're worried about whether or not it fails. And that you remember that you can go after and do lots of things and you might fail. I'm not saying the failure is going to go away, but I have found over the years that the regret of not trying something has made me feel worse than a failure of something that I went all in on, because at least I made a decision and a choice to move in and to move forward. And so while I want that to be kind of a through line conversation for us today, I want you to think about what that would look like or feel like to you if you moved forward with something, whether it's in your work, in your business, even in your personal life, that would help you find ways to move forward. Now, I want to acknowledge that while we talk about these high performance principles today, I recognize that there are people on this call and there are people that in our lives that are dealing with all of these principles on a variety of different levels. Some are handling all of this swimmingly, some are really struggling, and some of us are on a roller coaster where one day it all makes sense and the next day you want to just be in bed, and that is totally normal. And so one of the things that I teach people about our emotions is that we have to love and embrace and appreciate all emotions, but we have to recognize when we need to move out of the emotion that we're in or when we want to. And so some of the things that I think will help us with that are habits. And what I talk about more than anything is creating a habit-based life that helps you find the results that you want by doing similar and successful things over and over again. And the first one that I think is the most important to help you tune into your emotions, but then also set you up for success, is what I call a power up and a power down routine. Now, I love the quote by Brendan Burchard that says, "The power plant doesn't have energy, it generates it." And I love that thought because we are the power plant. We are the ability to generate the kind of energy that we want in our life, in our relationships, in our businesses, in our careers. And so we have the power to generate the kind of energy we want. And yet at the same time, we let so many external forces determine whether or not we feel peppy and upbeat, whether we feel connected, whether we feel challenged, or whether we feel happy and in control. And so that Brendan Burchard quote of the power plant doesn't have energy, it generates it. You have to start looking inward to create and generate your own energy in a way that makes you feel like you're not allowing external circumstances to be in control. And the power up and the power down routine is my favorite principle for this. People ask me if I'm doing television interviews or with private clients, what's your number one favorite success principle? And I will always say the power up and power down routine. Now, many of you have probably heard of this before in some way, shape, and form. When I first found it, it was called the Power Hour. And that every morning before you woke up, you got to spend an hour reading books, focusing on your goals, doing other things. And so that I can see if you have this kind of practice in some way, shape, and form, will you type it into the chat box? Or if this is new to you, will you just let me know? I'm curious how many of you already have a routine like this and what kinds of things you put in there. So I'd love for you to share. And also, as other people see those, they'll be able to get some ideas for theirs as well that might be different than even the things that I share today. What I liked about the Power Hour was that it gave me an ability to focus on me. Too often as humans in the digital age that we live in, we wake up in the morning and the first thing we do is what? We grab our phones. Now, not everyone, but typically within the first 5 minutes of waking, people grab their phones. And so the second you grab your telephone, you are into other people's objectives and other people's priorities. That moment. You are away from the things that matter to you. You're looking at your text messages, you're looking at your emails, you're looking at the news, you're looking at social media, which immediately puts you into other people's success principles and their ideas rather than your own. And so I suggest that a power up happens before you ever touch any electronic device and before you do anything else in the morning. Now, I don't think that you have to have an hour in order for it to be effective. In fact, some mornings, mine are only 15 minutes. Other times I do have the ability to have 30 minutes or more, but generally speaking, it's what you do, not how long you do it, that matters. So here is just some suggestions of things that I put in my power up and power down routine. If you're interested in getting a copy of this or even these slides, I'm totally happy to share. You can email me and I'll put it in the chat box if you want. Email me at michelle@speakmichelle.com and I will send you a copy of this. And just put in there Chamber West Women's Meeting so that I remember that we from that, and then just tell me that you want the slides or just this slide or whatever it is. But I'd be happy to share this with you so that you can make your own. But there are a couple of key principles that I think need to be in every power up routine. Now, I do one brain clearing activity, and there are a number of different ways you can do this. I love morning pages, which is a principle I learned about from Julia Cameron in the book, The Artist's Way. And in that book, she talked about how if you write down in free form handwriting 3 pages and just let it be stream of consciousness. It doesn't have to be pretty. It's not something that you keep. It is not a journal. It is not a to-do list. It's not anything else. It's just taking out of your brain all the things that are going on, which means for some mornings I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm already tired. I need a nap today. I've got to remember that I got to go to the dentist at 2:00 and I'm speaking for the Chamber West this morning. And am I prepared? I worked on my slides last night but it's all of these things that are coming out of my brain so that I can release them. And then it could go into something with my kids. I'm worried about my daughter. I'm worried about my son doing this. It goes from one thing to the next. But you're just getting it out and you don't let it mean anything. You just write down free form conscious. So the brain is this amazing tool that we have shoved it full of so much information that it isn't able and capable to do all of the things for us that we need it to do. So if you can find some sort of brain clearing activity like this, other people just make lists. They'll make a list of 25 things and then that gets it out. Whatever works for you. I love a good brain clearing activity. The second piece of this is to review your goals and your purpose. If you don't already keep your goals handwritten by the side of your bed on like a 3x5 card or something, I'm going to encourage you to do that super fast. If the first thing that you look at in your day is a way to reconnect to your goals and to reconnect to what really matters to you, it'll change the course of the rest of your day because you're focused on what matters and your priorities. Rather than to-dos, you're focused on the long-term game, and the natural to-dos will come as a result of that. So review your goals or your purpose. If you have a purpose statement, that works. Some people have an ideal life vision, which is a tool that I use, that I listen to my goals as if they've already happened. It doesn't matter how. Again, it just matters that you do something that reconnects you to your goals and to your purpose. Now, the next thing I do is something inspirational, some reading or success principle practices that I add in here. And it can be something as simple as just reading a book that you're interested in on personal development and happiness. It can be a success principles book, anything that will help you stay focused on personal development. So this is not the time that I do my fiction reading, or if I'm reading about knitting. I mean, I'm not reading about knitting, but if you read about a talent or a hobby, you can do that at any time. But I recommend that this time is focused on helping you get centered, whether you're learning about a time management practice, whether you're learning about how to feel better and happier, whatever that looks like. You do some reading here in this place. And then some motivational reading, which can be part of that. This is what I call plasticity time. In my book, I share about the importance of allowing our brains to be plastic, which sounds very weird, but the principle of plasticity is constantly growing and constantly improving and allowing your brain to expand. And so in this time, whether you choose to do inspirational reading and motivational reading, I do all of the pieces that help me. So whether that's stuff on mindset or meditation that helps with that, I have found that putting these 4 principles together, however that recipe looks for you, matters. Now, most people, I found that I loved my power up, but by the end of the day, I was exhausted, I was tired, and I went to bed reviewing all of the things that went wrong. So I started to couple this with the power down routine, and I see it as a powering up in the day and a power down in the evening, and an ability for you to be able to go in and review the day in a healthy way that puts you to sleep. Now, I work a lot with a lot of high-powered women, and so and men as well. As I'm working with C-level executives, I do a lot of work with startups and business teams that are growing with investors and shareholders. And when we're sitting and talking together, we are talking about stressful things, and they have a hard time sleeping at night. And I am not a doctor, so what I'm about to say is just about our experience and not about medical practices. But so many of my clients and customers are people who have insomnia and struggle with sleep. And as a result of struggling with sleep, they have struggles getting through the day with lack of energy, lack of focus, lack of clarity. And I found that when they did this simple practice, they were able to fall asleep with better regularity and stay asleep better because they found a way to kind of close the book. And while I don't think these are the only ways to do that, I do feel like it's important for you to make sure that you're clear about how you can turn off your brain in a healthy way so that you can get the sleep that you need. Sleep is one of my favorite success principles. And so whether you like to skate by on just a few hours of sleep, we're going to talk about that in a minute, or if you are religious about your 7 to 8 hours, sleep is so important, and the quality of your sleep is important too. So the power down activity lends to that piece as well. And so I gratitude journal every night. I learned about this principle from Sarah Brethnack in her book, Simple Abundance. Early on in my career, when I had a huge major life challenge happening, I started to read her book, and she cared about people gratitude journaling every night, and she brought it up all the time ad nauseum. And I remember saying to the book, Sarah, if you had any idea what was happening in my life, you would realize that it's okay and that sometimes you just don't have anything to be grateful for. And so I kind of started doing it after a while so that I could reach out to Sarah Brethnack and say, you're wrong. It doesn't work that way. Just being grateful will not get you out of the jams of life. And so I started to keep a journal, this gratitude journal, and I wasn't writing it long journals. I was doing 5 things every night that I was grateful for. And in the very beginning, it was very sterile. It was, I'm grateful for a roof over my head, even though the sewer just came up in the shower. which is a total true story. And I'm grateful for the car that we have, even though it's in the shop. And I'm grateful for a job, even though they just cut my hours. Like, it was just like I was giving disclaimers for everything. And bless her heart, if she had been there, she would have coached me that I shouldn't do those last disclaimers, but it was getting me through. After about a week, something in me changed. And it wasn't like I had a complete change of heart. It wasn't like my challenges went away. None of that happened. But in an instant, I was gratitude journaling and I saw the day a little bit differently. And I could see the ways that I was given little tiny mini miracles or mini preservations that were to help me throughout the day. And that while I was in the middle of some of my biggest challenges that I have ever faced in my life, I found that I was missing things. I was missing the good parts. I was so focused on my story and the bad parts of it that I could not wrap my brain around anything good. And then I could look back on the last few months that were really rough, where friends had called out of the blue and said, I was just thinking about you. And stamps showed up on my doorstep when I needed to send a bunch of letters. And laundry detergent showed up another day when I was completely out of money. And paychecks weren't coming in. And we were just struggling for financial help. And I needed laundry detergent. And somebody probably had this weird thought to drop off laundry detergent at Michelle's house, not knowing that that was the exact thing that I needed. And sometimes we're so focused on all the things that are going wrong, and especially in the world that we live in, that we are missing the things that are there to preserve us and to help us. And so while this sounds like a super simple principle, I have found that gratitude journaling is one of the best ways to turn my brain off at night and to help me focus on what works and what doesn't work, and making me really, really concerted on finding the good things. And so gratitude journaling is just one piece of my power down routine. I review tomorrow's time map, which is my time, the way that I analyze my time and my schedules for the day, so that I'm not lying in bed saying, is that appointment at 3 o'clock or is it at 4 o'clock? And did I say I was meeting with Sherry tomorrow, or am I meeting with her next week? And so I could turn my brain off for time as well. Now, I can do more reading here. I can do more motivational reading. I can do recreational reading at this time if I'm just reading a really good book, which I'm trying to read a lot of fiction novels right now to take my brain off of things. I do any inspirational connection or spiritual connection that I'm working on. But I have figured out how to put these pieces together so that I am powering up and powering down, and helps me to feel way more connected in my day. So if this is a practice that you're currently doing, and I think a couple of you posted in the chat box, they try to do something similar and don't always do it. But if you aren't, I'm going to encourage you to take the challenge, just like I wanted to take the challenge with Sarah Brethnack, because after the time, I really could I couldn't email her and say gratitude journaling doesn't help. So I want you to take the Power Up and Power Down routine challenge for the next 2 weeks. If you don't find that it helps you, I'd like you to send me a neener email using the same email that I've already put in this chat box that says, neener Michelle, this did not help me at all. But I bet in the end, you'll end up sending me an email that says, thank you. This simple thing has helped me so much. And either way, I would love to hear from you to see how it works. Now, just like any good recipe, sometimes when you try it, you realize, oh my gosh, I'd like a little vanilla here or a little less flour because I like them a little more doughy. You might find that there are pieces to your own Power Up and Power Down routine. And in my book, I share a lot of different ideas of things that you can put in the Power Up and Power Down routine. So I'm going to encourage you to make it yours. But I hope that if you include at least something from each of these categories, again, whether it takes 15 minutes or whether it takes 30, whatever you have time for, that you will invest in yourself in this way so that you can generate the kind of energy and focus and happiness that you want. One of the other things that I do now that I talk with when I'm speaking about happiness principles is that part of your Power Up and Power Down routine needs to include a statement about how you want to feel. And so when you wake up in the morning and ask yourself the question, how do I want to feel today? Chances are you don't want to feel down or tired or frustrated, but you might want to feel peaceful or energetic or connected. And so including just a simple phrase and asking yourself that question, it's one of the tips that I talk about in this book, The Happiest, is choosing the words that you want to feel for the day. And as you do, that you can focus and write those words on a 3x5 card, or have a pop-up come up on your phone that says, hey, are you feeling these 3 things today? To choose into the feelings that you want to feel. I think that the world that we live in is is so great at helping us to be interested in growing and progressing as humans. However, we're not necessarily taught about how to embrace and understand our feelings in ways that helps us productively move forward and move through things. So whether or not this feels second nature to you and you're like, yes, I get it, I'm in control, or whether you feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know if this really works, or I don't even know if it can be that simple, give it a whirl, give it a try, see what you could do in your life that might help you. Now, as part of that, the power up and power down routine is just a piece of the high five that we're going to talk about today. The second piece is prioritizing your health and making sure that your physical health is matching you. And I do not care what size you are. And I'm going to tell you the parable of the pants. Okay. So a few years ago, well, after I had my last baby, I worked really hard to exercise and to get my body back, which I never quite did, but I was able to get a hold of some of those pounds and some of that weight. And I was super thrilled about it. But as I got older and the same things that I was doing didn't work anymore, and I started to have some additional health challenges, I started putting on the pounds. And so each year, pounds came on, and it did not matter if I went to the gym 5 days a week or if I was eating and counting calories. I found that my weight would not be moved by any of those things. And so as I started to put on weight, this thing would happen every summer where I would go into my closet and I would realize that the shorts that I had didn't fit anymore, or the shirts that I have didn't fit anymore. And I would start to feel really frustrated about that. And then one day I cried and I went into the Deseret Industries and I found some pants that were big. And I remember sitting in the dressing room crying that I was buying big pants. And I said, I'm not going to wear these any longer than I have to. And I remember that summer that it was actually a gift that I gave myself to just go buy big pants. And I wasn't sad about it every morning that I was putting on pants that didn't fit. And I was grateful that I chose to love my body in that stage, in that place where I was in that moment, and that I was giving myself permission to not be uncomfortable and to not feel weird about things that I could not currently control. But I did want to wear clothes that made me happy, that fit, and that were comfortable. And so this is not about size. This has nothing to do with size, because I truly believe that while health is important, you can do things for your body that will help your heart, that will help your energy, and they might have no effect whatsoever on the scale, but they will affect your mind because you are giving them the attention that they need. And so regardless of that, whether you're exercising or healthy eating or whatever, and I kind of believe that pandemic calories don't count, yet at the same time, I have been telling myself, okay, if you get in XYZ number of fruits and vegetables a day, you can cheat a little bit. And so I'm still giving myself permission to have the things that I want. I'm still drinking the Dr. Pepper. Okay. Some people say you have to let go of the toxins. I say if the toxins make you happy, then you should drink the toxins. Okay. So whatever it is, wherever you are, you've got to give yourself some leeway, but also recognize that your body's ability to do the things that you want to do, to accomplish things that you want to accomplish, are set in the way that you take care of it and the way that you love yourself. And I truly believe that my body is the vehicle to my dreams. And whether I weigh my ideal weight or I am heavier than I want to be, if I'm taking care of my body physically, then my brain is catching up. There are some great connections between physical bodies and mental bodies. And that as you get those pieces in alignment, whether or not that the scale matches, you're able to do so much more. So love your body where you are right this very minute. Give yourself a big pat on the back and say, thank you, body, for helping me do all the things I wanted to do. And then just check in. What do you need a help area, an area in that will just, with a tiny tweak, give you a little bit of focus in the right direction. So whether that's a little bit more exercise, we've picked up walking, and I've been walking a 5K every day in the month of May, which takes about an hour if I'm really focused, and does take a bit of my day, but at the same time is getting me outdoors. It's getting me seeing nature. I'm not worried about speed. I'm just worried about getting it done. And then my other one right now is sleep, especially right now while life is less demanding. Focus on getting enough sleep. And if your body needs 7 to 8 hours, get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. We will never get this time back in the exact same way, but I think that it's a gift for each of us to reset. And while we are kind of slamming into the telephone booth at this moment, we do have the opportunity to say, okay, how am I going to pick myself up? How am I going to just invest just a little bit more into who I am as a human, and how I'm going to allow myself and my body to catch up with what I need? So as you think about this, think about what is the one thing that you could do that could help you physically, that could also help you mentally, and work on that. You don't have to work on 75 things, but just make a concerted effort to have that practice and principle. So before we go on to the next little pieces, we are a little bit more than halfway done. I would love to know what your favorite thing is right now that you are eating, that you are drinking, or that you are consuming in our weird pandemic world where things are different. What is one of your favorite go-to treats and or favorite go-to snacks? Whatever it is, whether it's healthy or unhealthy, this is the non-judgment portion of the program where I would just love to hear what's working for you. If Dr. Pepper's working for me, what is your lifeline? Because that goes straight into number 3, which is making a joy list. So in my book, The Happiest, I encourage everyone to write down 30 things that they can do every day that make them happy. And in the joy list, you're encouraged to put down at least half that are absolutely free, things that you are that you want to work on. And it can be just things you enjoy doing with your time. It can be talents that you want to develop. It can be things that you want to watch or do in moderation. I know that there's a lot of binge watching happening, and there's no judgment for that. I have been binge watched my fair share of shows. However, I'm also really trying to focus on some other things. Oh my gosh, you guys are so awesome. On your joy list, I hope you're looking at what other people are posting too. Fresh pineapple, shortbread cookies, oranges, sugar-free caramels, iced coffee, mixed nuts. I love it. Most of you are choosing healthy choices. And yes, please share where you can find some of these favorite things and help each other out, because some of the things that you enjoy eating or consuming or doing can also show up on your joy list. And I hope that they do, so that you have some of those go-to items in your house, that you are prepared for that. And your favorite items, your favorite shows, your favorite books. I love reading books by Harlan Coben. They're mystery novels, and I've read a couple in this pandemic because I've had a really hard time over the last couple of months actually reading personal development books, because my brain is so wired to think about all of the craziness that's happening. It's been really hard for me to focus on ways I can improve. So I have been reading a lot of fiction books. I've been doing some scrapbooking because I am just a poster child for Utah women who still scrapbook by paper. I don't know. I might be the last person who's even doing it in the world, but it brings me such great joys. And so whatever it is that's on your joy list, there is no judgment in your joy list. It's yours. It's 100% yours. And you don't get to have anybody else care about what you're doing. But then the trick is you have to also do those things. Okay. So you make the list, but the list doesn't go in a drawer. Every single day, bring out a couple of things, bring you joy, bring you happiness, bring you fulfillment, and do those, make that list. So make the list of 30 things that make you happy. 15 of them have to be 100% free, and 15 of them can cost money. One of my favorite things right now, and this is the next question for you. So the next question is, if life were normal and if you could go out and do anything right now, what would you do? My number one is a movie. I want to go to the movies so bad. I want to sit in a recliner. I don't care if there are people 6 feet away from me. I want to eat popcorn, and I want to just watch something. Okay, that's what I want to do. Trish is going to go skiing. Oh my gosh, wouldn't that be so great? The ski season got cut a little bit short, and I was kind of sad about that too. I'm not a big skier, but my family is, and when they go skiing, I get a quiet day. So a little sad they didn't get to do all the skiing. Becky would see her mom. People would go to the symphony. Oh my gosh, all the concerts and music. See, these are things that you can also put on your joy list that cost money. But one of the things that is the biggest trap for people right now is that sometimes when we look at our joy list and there are things that we can't do in that moment, that means that it's okay to be sad. Now, I recognize that there are people probably even on this call and people in our lives that need additional help in this department. And there are some people who need the professional help that can come from a doctor and medication that can solve these principles. However, I know that for the rest of us, there are simple practices that we can do to infuse our lives with more joy and more happiness. And the more that we do these things that are in our control, the things that are outside of our control, manage themselves in a completely different way. There's a principle that I talk about in the book called the control column and the no control column. And sometimes when you find yourself spiraling in a way that's out of control, you have to look at the principles and say, I cannot control the rate that the pandemic increases, that my kids aren't in school. I can't control a dozen things. What I can control is how I feel, how I infuse joy into my everyday, how I connect with other people in real and meaningful ways, how I take care of my body. And when I'm in my control and my no control column and I focus on the things that I can control, that matters the most. And so when you're in the joy list and you're doing those things, you are choosing to wake up powerfully and to be in control of your energy and your happiness. Okay, number 4, I am going to tell you to increase your spiritual connection in some way, shape, or form. Getting connected with your soul is so critical and so valuable. And religion aside, it doesn't matter anything with religion. But now is a great time to reconnect with who you are as a human, what you care about, what matters. If you have a higher power that's in your life, making a connection to that higher power and making sure that you are working with the things that you understand to receive additional help. So whether that's simply meditation to clear your mind, or whether it is working with understanding who you are and what you really care about, but whatever that looks like for you, journal about it. Because right now is a really great time for you to think about how you can connect with yourself on a deeper level, how you can connect with nature on a deeper level, how you can connect with the universe on a deeper level, because we have been so busy. We have been so busy that we have allowed that some of those principles to go away, and we don't even know what we know for sure or what we believe. And so if you can find and build that divine connection, that will help you with number 4. Now, number 5 is going to be increasing personal connections. So in a world where you're told to stay home, and while that is so lightening up, and I'm so grateful, and wherever you are and whatever your regulations are, personal connections matter. And so building relationships, even just joining calls like this, is a great way to increase your personal connections. And so I'm so grateful that Chamber West is still doing these women business connections so that you have an opportunity to see each other and see that other humans are actually still alive and what they're working on and what they're doing. But also think about the things that you need to do that will help you grow in those personal relationships, especially when we can't go see our family on the same way and that they live far away and we can't travel there. And some of those limitations that we have, what we can go back to old-fashioned phone calls, and we can write letters, and we can enlighten people's mailboxes and help them to feel happier with some of those pieces as well. So what I'd like you to do, we talked about 5 things, 5 high performance practices that can help you pivot and can help you refocus and re-clarify the things that are the most important to you, especially in this weird time that we live in. Now, one of the things that we haven't talked about yet that we promised to talk about is time management. And here's where this goes. When I was 12 years old, I begged my mother for a Franklin Day planner. Begged her for Christmas. All of my friends were asking for Sony Walkmans and Gerbo jeans. And I think my mom laughed at me behind my back that I wanted a Franklin Day planner, but I did. Now, I wanted one because my friends had one and they were super cool and super organized and super driven. And so I was thrilled and I wanted to be just like them. But I opened up a Franklin Day planner and on Christmas morning, and I was elated. And I spent that entire holiday break prioritizing to-do lists, writing a mission statement, and getting very organized. Well, as organized as a 12-year-old can get, right? But I had a Franklin Day planner all through high school and college. I had a Palm Pilot for a while because that was recommended by Franklin Covey. And now I simply use my phone. But here's what I know for sure, okay? That whether we're talking about increasing your sleep or your exercise, or whether we're talking about your power up and power down routine, or making your joy list, or whether we're talking about your personal connections, your ability to be able to become the person who comes next in this next chapter of our lives is directly related to your time management. And some people consider time to be a 4-letter word, as if I have just sworn at you multiple times in the last 3 minutes. But I do believe that time and plan are 4-letter words for success. And that time is either your greatest asset or your greatest liability in your life, in your future, in your relationships, and in your business. So when we talk about these 5 high performance principles, and we talk about the 5 ways that you can grow and increase personally and professionally, you have to make time for them. So where do these things fit? What time works best for your power up and your power down routine? What time works best for your exercise or starting your sleep routines? What time works best for you to make and reach personal connections? Because until you can take some of these principles and turn them into daily, weekly, and monthly tasks, they will just become a to-do list or a challenge rather than becoming part of you. And so if you can look at your schedule and look at your time and decide when you're going to take that time for yourself to be able to begin and to reconnect and to regrow into who you want to be next in this chapter in your life, it'll probably be really difficult for you to apply these principles. So before I close, I want to answer questions. If you have any questions or thoughts that have come up, you can pop them into the chat. If there's something else that you wanted to talk about today that we didn't talk about, that you were looking forward to, I tried to cover the things that we promoted on the page. But if there was something else that you're interested in, you can do that. While you're popping some things into the group chat, I'm going to share with you, I had somebody send me a private message asking where they could get copies of my books. If you're interested, you can go to speakmichelle.com. At the very top of that page, there will be a pop-up that comes down about getting my happiest book. But if you just click on that, it'll take you to the shop. And in the shop, there is currently still a holiday promotion going on for a Memorial Day to buy both books for $20. So if you're interested, you're welcome to go and do that. If you're not, no big deal. You can buy them on Amazon too if you're interested. One of the things that I'm doing right now is I'm connected with a group that is helping single moms. And so for every bundle that's purchased of both books, I'm actually donating a group to single moms who are also looking to revitalize and rechapter their lives in the pieces that they put together. So if you're interested in that, I'd love for you to do that. And I will pass along a book in your name as a donation to that group. So while we close here, I want to share with you one final principle that is really important to me and matters to me and helps me keep all of my pieces together. And how this all kind of came together, it happened when I was 7 years old. And when I was 7, I was playing in my room one night, and it was past my bedtime. Normally I got put to bed at 8, and it was 8:45, and I kind of thought to myself, I wonder if somebody's going to come put me to bed. I wonder what time somebody's going to come put me to bed. And I decided that instead of reminding them it was past my bedtime, that I would just play in my room until I came in. And so another set of time went by, and when my mom came into the room, she didn't put me to bed, but she handed me a plastic bag, and she said, "Pack whatever you can. I don't know when we're coming back." And then she left the room about as quickly as she came in. And in that moment, I could tell something was wrong, but I didn't know what was going on. I was trying to be helpful and do what she said. So I went to my dresser and I grabbed all of my shirts and all of my underwear and no pants. And I just was putting things in this plastic bag. And as I'm leaving the room, I look around and I wonder if I should be grabbing other things. So I grabbed my brand new My Little Pony twins. They were yellow with pink hair, and I had just gotten them for my birthday. And I grabbed all the money to my name, which was about 52 cents, and I put it in the bottom of the bag. And I took that bag down the stairs past my dad, who was crying, and we left. And that was the beginning of my parents' divorce. And as I think through that circumstance, I think most of that circumstance was lost on me. I did not understand the gravity of the situation. I just knew that something was wrong. But with my adult eyes, I can see my mother. And I can see that in the midst of her own trial, she was just thinking, get it done. Because I have often wondered why in a house full of suitcases and overnight bags, my mom handed me a plastic bag. But I can imagine she was just thinking, get it done. And as I think about this principle in hindsight, one thing that I know for sure is that I know that the great equalizer for all of us is that we have challenges. And we can talk about a pandemic in real ways that we're facing, but I also know that before this or during this or currently, you still have a number of challenges that the pandemic can't even touch. And the things that are happening within the walls of your own homes, within the walls of the schools where we send our children, and within the walls of our own lives and in our own hearts that are struggling. The plastic bag principle is not that everything will go perfect if we just have a happy attitude. The plastic bag principle is a reminder that regardless of who we are and the challenges that we face, that we become stronger from the challenges that we're given, and that we can all acknowledge that everyone around us is carrying some baggage in their own way, shape, and form too. And part of being happy is not being happy in a vacuum. Part of pivoting and becoming the people who we really need to be is an acknowledgement that everyone that we interact with has some challenges as well. And the baggage that they're carrying may be invisible, but it is heavy. And even when we feel heavy and worn down, we have the opportunity to increase the happiness of other people. You know, someone asked me in the chat, what would you say is the number one enemy of happiness? And I think the number one enemy of happiness is believing that things won't ever get better and that we use our challenges as an excuse to not become the people that we're meant to be, and that we see our challenges as a way to hold us back rather than this thing that is making us stronger and better people, making us more empathetic humans, making us more able to reach out to the people around us and say, what can I do and how can I help you? I have found in my work that if you want your happiness to improve, you can increase the happiness of someone else and your own happiness will increase. I promise. And with that simple knowledge and understanding, it is so important to know and understand that who you are is not about the challenges that you're faced and the labels that you have on yourself, whether it's that I'm divorced, I'm depressed, I don't have a lot of money in the bank, I've been through bankruptcy, whatever labels you're putting on yourself, whether you're dealing with aging parents or you have a full-time child in your home that you take care of that will never leave you, whatever those labels are, what also follows you is strong, courageous, happy, energetic, peaceful, ability to solve problems. And those labels are going to be the ones that help you become the people that you need to be next, but then also be the people who you can need to be for the people who are around you. So wherever you are, and of all of the things that you have going on in your life and in your world, I honor you. And while I may not see your own individual challenges, I know that what you're facing is big and important. And I also know that you can choose to go about life reactively or proactively. But if you choose into your high performance life, and if you choose into living happiness principles at your very core, you can change the way that you see the future. And so whether personally or professionally, you find yourself trying to find ways to improve and grow, while it may sound like these simple principles are small and fluffy, it's sometimes the smallest, simplest things that bring us the greatest results. So thank you so much for being on the call today. I'm happy to answer any other questions. Again, my email is in the chat. Feel free to copy that and send it to me if I can help or support you in any way. If I can provide you any additional resources, or if you'd like copies of these slides, please go ahead and do that and reach out. But wherever you go next, whatever your challenges you're facing or the big goals and dreams that you have in your back pocket, I am cheering you on, and I'm wishing you all the best as you make it happen.
Well, thank you, Michelle. That was an awesome presentation. I think everybody wants a copy of your slides. I know I do. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. And again, I want to give you a reminder to put on your calendar for Tuesday, June 9th. We're going to be having another series with Chris Barney will be speaking to us on that day. So please put that on your calendar. And then also July 14th, we're hoping to have our first in-person Women in Business meeting again. So Barbara, did you have anything additional, or Becky Ivory?
No, just a big thank you so much. You know, this is such great information during this time when so many people are working from home and things are so different in our lives. And it just, you know, and the happiness principle is fantastic. So, you know, thank you so much, Michelle, for that. I will announce we do have a gubernatorial forum coming up on June 11th as well. So if you're interested in learning more about our 4 gubernatorial Republican candidates, they're the ones that will be on the primary ticket. Please mark that on your calendar and look for more information coming out on that as well. And like Trina, I am very excited about seeing you all in person in July, because enough is enough, right? We look forward to seeing you all. Thanks for giving me an opportunity, Trina.
You're welcome. Thank you all. Like I said, I appreciate everyone's participation. Michelle, fantastic. I can't wait to read your book. So, all right, I guess we will adjourn our meeting and everybody get back to work. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. That was awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that was really, really great.
It was a great group. I loved all the conversations happening in the chat too.
Oh, it was so fun. So fun. Okay, great. I can't wait to get the rest of your books.
Yeah, it sounds like I've got a couple books I need to buy.
Yes.
Most definitely. All right, we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Have a great day.